All right, y'all prepare yourselves because when I say for part 4 that y'all requested, it gets a little personal. As y'all can tell, I'm chilling today. Y'all getting some of this moo action, some of this robe action, because I'm chilling. Yeah. Currently waiting on my cinnamon and chamomile tea to go ahead and finish steeping on the stove so I can go ahead and enjoy a nice cup because I have a feeling I'm going to be pushing out several videos for y'all today. So there might be a part 5, 2 videos in one day. We'll see if y'all get that lucky. Because y'all know between the shop, running the channel, and trying to have a personal life and handle all these spiritual things, it can be a bit of a balancing act, but I handle it pretty well. What's good in the YouTube hood? It's your girl Luna Nova, and I'm back with another one for y'all today. I really want to address some of the rude comments that have been left in my comment section lately and under some of my community posts. And first and foremost, I just want to say I don't appreciate it because the things that you all are complaining about, and when I say you all, I obviously mean that small group of people who are complaining about this situation. Y'all are complaining that my intro is too long. Y'all are complaining about the amount of ads that are posted in my videos. Just because I have almost 10,000 followers does not mean that I have almost 10,000 customers that are buying on a regular basis. So that means that me as a content creator, as well as a small business owner, I have to find other avenues in order to generate money so I can sustain my life, so I can pay my bills. To be honest, I think all of you all need to keep your rude comments to yourselves because I'm just going to start blocking you all. There's no room for it over here. If you don't believe in what I do, that goes for the Bible thumping Christians. That goes for any of the negative Nancys. I mean, just any negative comments, any negative energy, it will be blocked. Now that we got that out of the way, moving on. Welcome back, my hoodlums, to part 4 of Audacitity's viral ghost story stitches. And for this next one, we're stepping into some seriously creepy territory here. From homemade Ouija boards to familiar faces in a crowd that shouldn't be there, to spirits that refuse to leave homes. These stories blur the lines between imagination and visitation. So are you ready to cross over? That being said, go ahead and grab you a drink, a snack, and some protection items from yours truly. And let's go ahead and get into some of these crazy ghost stories from Audacity's famous viral stitch.
A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely true. I'll go first.
Yeah, so this happened to me, it was either the summer of 2021 or 2022. So I moved into my house in April of 2020, so we just hit the 4-year mark in my house not that long ago, which is pretty cool. Never really got any creepy vibes from the house itself, but I will say, like, the street that I live on is pretty weird. I've seen some questionable people and heard some weird things like going up and down the street. Had numerous roommates come and go throughout the years. They all left for personal reasons, none related to any of the weird stuff that has happened in this house, but I don't think any of them would ever have any issues with saying, yeah, some fuck shit has definitely happened there that can't explain, or they would probably say is paranormal. So I don't think it's my house itself that is haunted. I like to think that it's me, just because I've had some of the weirdest experiences happen to me ever since I was a tiny little kid. Like, I think probably I had to have been as old as like 2.5, like when weird shit started happening to me. And like, thankfully, like, other people have been there for like some of the weird things that have like happened to me, and they've like seen it also, so like I know that I'm not going fucking crazy and it's not like all in my head. And then I also collect antiques and vintage items, whether it's clothes or toys or like knickknacks, whatever. So I have a lot of energy that's circling around my life, some that's uninvited and some that I live with because I collect it and I make that choice to keep it in my home. And now back to the original story. I'm choosing to talk about this particular story just because it's definitely like the creepiest. And like I said, I have seen some weird shit in my life, but this one still freaks me out, and like it sends like a fucking chill like down my spine like every time I think about it, because I don't think it's only like a ghost story. Like, this shit legit made me believe in like fucking shapeshifters. Alright, moving the story to the front porch because this is where it actually happened. So I came out on the porch that night to smoke a cigarette. I'm a smoker, I know, that's what I was doing. And as you can see, my front porch is L-shaped, so that's the main front door, and then the side front door. That light was on that night, and this light was on that night, and then we got the motion sensor light right there that shines onto the driveway. Got the 2 chairs right here. My blinds are fucked up because I have a cat. But I didn't sit in either one of the chairs. In fact, I was standing right here when this happened, okay? So, scrolling on my phone and smoking, when all of a sudden, the motion sensor light right here cuts on. Nobody had pulled into the driveway. I thought maybe it was one of the, like, neighborhood cats that walks around, or maybe the wind blew and that, like, the branches from the tree, like, triggered the light to cut on, so I didn't think, you know, too much of the, maybe that was just a coincidence that night or something. So like I said, I didn't sit on the chairs, chose to stand right here. Why? I don't know. I just did. Maybe I was meant to see this, okay? All of a sudden, after the light cut on and after I go back to looking at my phone, the weirdest feeling came over me, okay? I look up from my phone, and right here at this column, hang on, I'll give you a visual representation. There's a shadow figure, probably a couple inches taller than I am, standing right here, just like that. So arms are out to the side, his legs are spread apart a little bit, just like this. So yeah, I'm looking at this thing, go back to looking at my phone like a dumbass, not thinking too much of it, and then it hits me. Wait a minute. That's not my fucking shadow. My shadow is right here. You can kind of see my shadow right here. It's up against the house. Whose shadow am I looking at right now? Or who is this figure? Who is this? What the hell? What was that? I look up and it's gone. It's gone. So I'm thinking there's somebody over here, right? I go around the corner to see if there's somebody standing up on my porch. There wasn't a person. But I look down on the ground, and keep in mind, this is the summertime, okay? I don't have roaches crawling around here all the time. I look down, and there is a motherfucking cockroach standing on its 2 back legs upright. It goes back down to its regular little cockroach stance and crawls underneath the cracks of the porch. I see that and I'm like, ain't no fucking way, man. Ain't no fucking way. Like, I was tripping the fuck out. So I went inside to, like, collect myself, and then came back out and immediately, like, recorded a video of, like, me telling the story then. And yeah, I have no explanation. I have looked it up, and it turns out cockroaches can run on their back 2 legs, but they don't stand upright like that, especially not like no fucking person does. Like, cockroach standing like that. So I wholeheartedly believe whatever the fuck I saw standing in front of me that night went into that fucking cockroach and then disappeared under my porch. So that's my story.
A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, so this story happened in like 2015, 2016. I was in community college. It was like my first or second semester. And it started with me kind of just having some weird experiences. Specifically, I would smell something really bad like all the time. It smelled like rotten, it smelled like sulfur, and it would just come and go. And it was really random. I'd be in class, I'd be walking, I'd be at home, I'd be studying. But specifically when I was in class, it would just come all of a sudden. And it was to the point where I was getting really paranoid that I would leave class and I was checking, my breath, I was checking my clothes, I was checking everything, like anything that was around me. And I was getting really paranoid that it was something that was coming from me. But after it happening probably like more than 5 times, I realized, okay, so this is not coming from me. I'm not emitting this like scent at all, but it's around me. And I always thought it was very strange because nobody else necessarily could smell it. I'd even like sometimes ask like friends or like classmates and be like, do you smell that? And they wouldn't. So I thought that was strange, but time kind of goes on more and I'm just continuing to have this rotten smell that follows me kind of. And one morning I'm at home, and at the time my mom would take my like little brothers to class or to school earlier, and I went to class like later on in the morning. So I was home alone, and all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm getting ready in my room, putting on makeup in the mirror and stuff, and I hear a sneeze. And instinctively I just say, bless you. Doesn't really thinking about it. People are usually home, so I just said, bless you. And then it took me about a good 5 seconds to realize that nobody was home. And, we live on the second story apartment at the time, and we don't live off like any busy street, and it's usually pretty quiet, and there was no like open windows or anything. So I was a little freaked out and kind of like looked around, and I even went to go check in all the rooms to make sure that there was no like windows open or anything, and that it wouldn't be any TV or anything that was left on, and it wasn't. And I didn't personally have anything on at the time. I was kind of just getting ready in like silence, which is weird, but that's what was happening. So continue to get ready, and about 30 minutes later, my mom, she texts me that she's here because she's going to drive me to school that day. And I'm going to start packing up, get my bag, go get my shoes on. And as I'm getting my shoes on, I get like a little bit of a weird feeling that like something is in the apartment. And then I remember, oh dang, I literally heard the sneeze. But still, it's just like a feeling. And I walk outside the door, and as I'm getting ready to like, close the door to lock it up, the door completely just jolts. It jolts forward to me and it closes, very aggressively. And I was really shocked because it felt like there was a force inside of the apartment that had closed the door on me. And there's nobody home, and there's no wind or anything like that. So I'm really freaked out. I kind of just lock it up really quickly, don't even want to touch the handle anymore. And I like run downstairs, and I'm not even telling my mom. I don't tell her anything. She just sees that I am freaked out, and she can see it all over my face. And she asked me what had happened, and she kind of known what had been going on. She kind of knew about the smell. And actually, she was one of the only people who smelled it at one point. One point I was in the car and I smelt it, but didn't even verbalize it. And she was the one who pointed it out. And I was like, okay, so at least she can smell it. But this is also not uncommon for my mom. She's, kind of spiritual, well, actually very spiritual. She can feel many things, whether it's spirits, paranormal things, there's some brujeria. Nothing bad though, just like organically in the family. But yeah, that was the only time that somebody else did smell the smell. But back to the morning where I felt the door close on me. So I just explained to her what happened. And, she was concerned because I had been concerned for a very long time at that point. And she just drives me to school. I'm there. I kind of, shake it off of me throughout the day. And then later that day, she calls me after one of my classes, and she tells me that she went home and she did a cleansing, and she pretty much told whatever it was to go, because when she walked into the apartment, she really did feel like something was there. And she couldn't really make certain of what it was, and it wasn't necessarily bad, but it was a little malicious. I guess maybe that is really bad. But but not in the where like it was going to hurt me, but it was going to make itself known, and had manifested that morning. So she did the cleansing and got rid of it. And since then, I hadn't felt anything like that. I've had other experiences, but nothing in particular related to that incident. And I was very glad, because I was like barely in college, and I'm like, I'm dealing with this, and I'm dealing with this too. And we really didn't know what it was, but my mom did kind of have maybe some, like ideas of what it could be. I was in a new environment, maybe something had attached itself to me, or maybe I was around some not good people, or somebody had seen me and, gave me some really bad energy or something like that. But I'll never really know what it was. But it was definitely freaky. And yeah, so.
Me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
I've been seeing dead people since I was 4. Nothing new, pretty normal. I have a sixth sense, like most of the women on my mom's side of the family. It is what it is. But there's one experience that fucked me up, probably for life, because it's still with me to this day. I still think about it when I'm alone. And thank God I'm not alone today to tell my freaking story. 6 years ago, I get pregnant. My husband finds a new job. We moved from Jersey to Philly. And when we move into this new place, something is not sitting right with me. Something, my intuition is telling me this is not somewhere you want to be. My husband, just for background, he works nights most of the time. He has rotating shifts. He works nighttime. So 9 times out of 10, I'm home by myself, okay? And nothing bothers me. I watch scary movies all the time by myself, in the dark. Don't give 2 shits. Like I said, I've been seeing dead people since I was 4. They visit me in my sleep, real life, whatever. Doesn't bother me. Leave me alone, you ain't paying no bills, whatever. But for some reason in this place, I did not want to be alone. As a pregnant woman, I took naps. That was one of the worst symptoms that I had. I took naps about 10 times a day, and when I woke up, I was still tired. So in this new place, I ended up taking a nap. I don't remember where my husband was, but it was in the middle of the day, so I know he wasn't at work. He was somewhere, running errands, whatever. I needed a nap. I ain't going nowhere, all right? So I don't have dreams, and when I do, they're either somebody that has passed away or somebody that is going to pass away or about to pass away, and they're just telling me bye. Very peaceful. Some of my dreams, other dreams, they're nightmarish, and I feel like at the end of the day, gotta watch out, because my dreams usually become reality, right? The first nap that I took in this place was straight out of a Paranormal Activity film. It was nuts, okay? So I'm sleeping, I have this dream, and I'm in my apartment, in my bed, okay? What I was already doing. And I hear something in the kitchen area. So the layout of this apartment is you walk through the front door, long hallway. To the left is the kitchen, the living room. Then you walk down the long hallway. It's the second bedroom, and then the big bedroom, which is, the master bedroom, our bedroom. I hear this noise, and I'm like, what the F is that? I know my husband isn't at home, so I jump out of bed to go see what it is, thinking it's my dog, fucking around, doing whatever, chewing up on some shoes and shit, right? Open the door, it's just eerily quiet. Call to my dog, she ain't coming, so I'm gonna go check. I walk into the kitchen area, every cabinet, fridge, cupboard, dishwasher, everything was open and empty. And when I realized that, just everything, utensils, plates, wherever it was, chairs, they all dropped down onto the floor, and I just jolt up. I jump out of my sleep, And I was all like, what the actual fuck is that? I don't know if you guys watched the first Paranormal Activity, but there is a scene in there just like that happened in my dream. I was like, oh fuck no. And I'm like, you know what? It's just a dream. This is a new place. I'ma just dust it off as I'm pregnant. I'm gonna have vivid dreams. It is what it is, right? Things get worse. So I did tell my husband. I told my husband exactly what happened in my dream. He's white. He don't understand, paranormal activity. He just chucks it off as you had a bad dream or whatever. So I was like, you know what? I told you. You didn't believe me. It is what it is, right? But I keep telling him I'm just not feeling at home. This is not my home. I don't want to live here. I want to move. I am not happy here. I told him that since basically day one. After that dream, I'm on my toes. I'm not comfortable. Don't want to be there. Let my husband know. Something is here with us. This ain't home. This ain't our home. It's somebody's home, but it ain't ours. After that dream, I'm on my toes. I'm not comfortable. Don't want to be there. Let my husband know. Something is here with us. This ain't home. This ain't our home. It's somebody's home, but it ain't ours, okay? So we're getting settled in, day by day, whatever, trying to get comfortable in this place, even though I don't want to be there. We just finished eating breakfast in the living room. My husband said, it's time to walk the dog. He's getting ready. I get the itis. I thought I was up, but I somehow doze off, and I'm a very light sleeper. Pregnant or not, I have always been a light sleeper. So while I'm napping or drifting off to my nap, I hear my husband call me from down the hall. He's like, babe. I'm like, what the fuck are you calling me? You know damn well after I'm done eating. I'm thinking about this all in my head. You know damn well after I'm done eating, 9 times out of 10, I'm about to take a nap. Why you bothering me, my pregnant self? Why you bothering me right now? But I don't say anything, and I keep hearing it. Babe. I'm like, I'm going to sleep. Fuck you. I'm not answering that shit. And as soon as I say that, my husband opens the front door. My dog walks in, and he walks in shortly after. I open my eyes. I was all like, you weren't just calling me from down the hall, probably in the nursery or in the bedroom? He's all like, no, I just came back from walking the dog. I'm all like, I just heard you call me. You were just here. You did not walk the dog yet. He's all like, I'm in the front door. I just walked in. Here goes the dog. She's not in her crate. I'm all like, okay. I heard you call me. And if it wasn't you, then who the fuck was it? I'm not saying anything else. That's all I left it at. I left it like that because there's no explanation. I left it alone. I didn't know about mimics until TikTok. Until I was scrolling and I found out about mimics, I had no idea. I thought he was fucking around. My husband is a jokester. He is a prankster. I thought he was joking. So I was like, all right, you can't explain it. You say it wasn't you? Okay, whatever. So throughout the time I'm in this apartment, especially alone, I avoid my daughter's room, her nursery at all costs. I barely put her stuff together until the very last minute, okay? I was not nesting like that in that room. And if I was, it was a 1, 2, 3 and I'm out of there, okay? Out of there. For some reason, the energy in that room, specifically near her closet area, I did not want to be in there whatsoever. So fast forward. I'm getting ready for my wedding. My best friend comes. She is the bridesmaid, the only bridesmaid that I had for my wedding, of course. She ends up sleeping in there. I didn't give her any warning. I know that's fucked up for me to say, but she also has like intuition, sixth sense, as if you will, whatever. So if anybody is going to confirm that I'm not going fucking crazy or it's not just a pregnancy symptom, it would be her, right? So my best friend comes. She, settles into the room. We chill for that night, for the most of the night, and then it's time for me to go to bed. Wake up in the morning, get ready for the wedding. When it was time for her to go, she's all like, Dom, something in that room doesn't sit right with me. Something, I can't put my finger on it, but it's a very heavy feeling. I was like, okay, well, you confirmed that with me. I did not tell her about my dream. I just said it just feels very, very heavy in my daughter's room. And my mom comes. Like I said, women in my family, they be knowing. So I told you about the paranormal activity ass dream that I had. I told you about the mimic pretending to be my husband. Now, my mom comes. Like I said, women in my family, they be knowing. They be knowing. This is what really fucked me up, all right? This is what really got me. My best friend confirmed it. Now with my mom. So my mom comes. She is there because I finally gave birth. She's going to help me. If anybody knows, Caribbean parents, they will be with you until you're like, all right, get your ass out type shit. My daughter was not sleeping in the nursery. The first couple of months, she was not in there. She was right by my side in her little bassinet. So my mom and my dad, they slept in my daughter's nursery. My mom is making breakfast. I come out. I'm all like, hi, what's going on? Trying to figure out what we're going to do today, yada, yada, yada. She waits until I'm done eating breakfast, and she's all like, there's something in your daughter's room. I'm like, what do you mean? I did not want to tell her exactly what I felt in that room, but she already confirmed it on what she said. She said, there was a man sitting on the edge of the blow-up bed. I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a man sitting there. And she was all like, it does not feel like this is a good energy. I did not tell anybody, not even my husband, that part. I told him about how I did not feel like this is not my home. I told him about my dream. I told him about something in her room that just did not sit right with me. But I never told anybody, not even my best friend, that I felt that there was a male presence in my room. So for my mother to confirm that, I was all like, we all need to get the fuck out of here. ASA motherfucking P. Okay? I don't care what we do, we gotta go. Now. Okay? It didn't happen instantly, okay? I'll just let you know that. So after that, I refused to go in her room. Unless my husband was home, I would change her diaper, change her clothes, and get the fuck up out of there, okay? She took her naps in the bassinet in our bedroom. There was no way in hell, all right, I was letting her sleep in that room. But my child was 10 pounds, 8 ounces. That bassinet ain't holding her for very long, okay? We let her sleep in that bassinet as long as physically possible. And when we started seeing that she was growing at a rapid pace, we were all like, okay. My husband and I agreed that it is time to start sleep training her, for her to sleep in her own bed, her own crib, at least during the day. And she did great. She's hitting milestones, and she's hitting them early, okay? She's able to roll over by herself, and roll back. She was doing all of that. She was doing good. So, my husband and I I was very, very weary about saying yes. I did not want to, but like I said, I can't stop her and her milestones. I can't stop her from growing. So we both agreed that it's time for her to start sleeping there, at least try it out for one night in her own crib, in her own nursery. Keep in mind, I told you, my husband works nights. It's me and my child in that home alone. Did not want her to be in there. My husband goes to work. My child goes down for her nap or bedtime. I am glued, okay? Glued to that nanny cam. I am watching that thing like SpongeBob was watching TV with his eyeballs on that screen. I was watching her the entire time. I brought that nanny camera monitor in the bathroom with me, in the kitchen. Hell, I even brought it near, close to the shower so I can see it through the damn glass door. While she was sleeping, I refused to take my eyes off that monitor. I did not go to sleep that night. She slept peacefully that entire night. Very happy. But until I heard the front door open and seen my husband, I did not go to sleep at all. And that happened consecutively for 3 freaking nights. 3. And she did good. And I was happy because I was like, maybe it is my pregnancy symptoms. Maybe my mom, I don't know. But she's doing good. Nothing's happening, right? A few weeks go by.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first.
Oh boy, is this my side of TikTok. So, when I was a younger kid, about 12 years old, I was playing Call of Duty on my computer, and my dad was at work, my mom was downstairs, and my sister, I believe, was in her room. Out of the corner of my eye, while I was playing on the computer, I saw a little girl on the other extremity of my room, on the other side of my bed. So I thought to myself, oh, this must be an angel or some type of positive presence, because everything that had appeared to me so far in my life was dark, instantly evil, instantly tormenting me, well, whatever. So I'm like, oh, it's something positive. It's an angel, something here to save me. I felt those feelings at that young age that I needed to be saved. So as it's getting closer, I noticed that it's praying. I'm like, oh, this is definitely something good. Like, I'm glad that this is what's happening right now, that this is what's transpiring. As it got even closer, I'd say about like the front of the bed. So my desk was here, front of the bed would be like right behind me, and then the other side is where it had started walking from. I noticed it was praying backwards. So I froze. You know how they say fight or flight? It was neither. I just froze. I didn't move. And then I felt this cold touch on my shoulder, and I looked on my shoulder, and I saw this old wrinkly hand. Swear on everything I love. And I quickly got up and turned around, saw nothing. I ran down the steps. I took my shoes. I didn't even put them on inside the house. I put them on outside of the house. And then I proceeded to stay outside of the house for the remainder of the day, which when I came in, long after the streetlights had turned on, I got physically reprimanded for staying out for that long. I said why I had stayed out for that long. I was not believed until other things started to happen in the house affecting other family members. But those are stories for another day, or maybe today. It depends on the response in this video, but that is my unbelievable haunted story. And I have ones way far more unbelievable than those, but I thought I would just share this one.
A ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely
Okay, so I have two stories, and both of them happened in my dad's old house. Now, the house itself, not scary. It was like a 2000s, early 2000s builder grade, like type cookie cutter house. So not old, not crickety, not creepy at all. But what was creepy was what I believe to be a malicious entity that lived there with us. Now, I'm someone who's very sensitive to paranormal things, so I've experienced a lot of different like ghostly interactions, and I can honestly say a majority of them do not scare me. What happened in this house always made me feel so intimidated, so threatened. It was always so malicious, honestly. Anyway, so let's tell those stories. First things first, I have two younger siblings that are my half siblings, my sister and my brother. So my sister is 13 years younger than me. My brother is 15 years younger than me. It's important to the story. Both these stories happened when each of them were around a year old. So the first story has to do with my sister. So I'm home alone one day, babysitting her. It's just her and I there. She's around the age of 1, so she's just learning to crawl, learning to stand up with things, all of that kind of jazz. So to keep her safe, at the top of our stairs, we had a baby gate that was kind of like permanent, one of those that like really goes into the wall and doesn't really move. It was at the top of the stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs, we had one of those collapsible baby gates. But because the bottom of our stairs just had 2 posts instead of like a wall to solidly put it on, we actually laid it down on the first 3 stairs and still expanded it out so it was tight and like didn't move or anything, but it was laying down versus standing up. And basically those were just there to protect her from going up and down the stairs while she was learning how to like crawl and stand up and all of those things. So anyway, I'm down in the living room. I'm watching TV. She's crawling around and playing. Now, she kept wanting to like go up the stairs. So when she did, I would like pick her up. We'd go up. I had the same show of mine playing upstairs, so I'd continue watching. She'd play until she looked like she wanted to come back down the stairs. I'd pick her up, and we'd come back down. And we did that a couple of times of just like up, down, whatever. I'm watching my show. It's no big deal. Well, the couch that I was sitting on, my back would have been to the wall that the like stairs were a part of. And I realized that I couldn't hear her for a little bit. I was like, couldn't hear her anyway. So I get up, I'm looking around, and she is halfway up the stairs. Now you might be thinking, how did a baby get over the baby gate? Because that's what it was there for. Well, the baby gate was collapsed and moved. Now you might be thinking, well, did you just maybe collapse and move it? No, because I didn't know how to. I'm like 14 or 15 at this time. And if you've ever owned a baby gate, you know every single one of them has like their own locking mechanism. I didn't know how to collapse this gate. So when I was taking her up and down the stairs, I was just stepping over it. And I absolutely know for a fact that I did not close it. I literally didn't know how to. So I see her. She's halfway up the stairs, and I get this overwhelming sinking feeling. I'm like it was immediately like it's trying to hurt my sister. That was the first reaction I had. It was immediate. It was a gut instinct, and I felt just like darkness almost like all around us. I run up the stairs. I scoop her up. I go upstairs, and we're sitting on this like love seat in like our bonus playroom area that's looking towards the stairs. And I swear to you, I could just feel like this thing is standing here and it was trying to intimidate us. And I genuinely feel like it tried to get my sister to be in harm's way. I think that it was trying to get her to hurt herself on accident or fall down the stairs. And it makes me like sad to even think about because it was such a true feeling. Like I could not deny that I was like, this thing is trying to hurt her. So I'm sitting there, I'm crying, I'm so freaked out, and I'm convinced that this thing's standing in front of me, basically. I call my dad, I'm like crying to him, I'm like, please come home, please come home. He couldn't really like come home from what he was at. You know, it's midday, so it's like not late at night or anything either. Like there's no reason for me to be freaked out, and yet I was more terrified than I'd ever been in my entire life. So I finally get the courage to basically run through this thing, and I'm like actively yelling at it, like, get out, this isn't your house, you can't touch her. Like I'm yelling at nothing, I guess. Anyway, I finally get the courage. I run downstairs with her in my arms. We go outside and we played outside for the rest of the time until someone came home. I was so scared. My dad was convinced that I was just like riling myself up. But I don't know. I know I didn't move the gate. I know I didn't collapse it. And I know what I felt when we were sitting there. I know it. So that was my first time that I was literally like, okay, this thing that I keep thinking that I sense and that I feel, it's here. And not only is it here, but it wants to hurt us. So fast forward a couple of years, we're still living in this house. And now my little brother is born and he's around that like right under a year old age, right around that crawling and like can pull themselves up on the crib age. And like I said before, I didn't sleep in my bedroom there because I was convinced that this thing lived within that area. And I feel like I could feel it a lot in there. So I often slept on either the bonus room couch upstairs, or I would sleep in the living room couch downstairs. So this particular night, I'm sleeping on the bonus room couch upstairs. And where my feet would have been, or like the feet end of my couch, was this wall that divided the playroom that I was in and my little brother's bedroom. So I'm up watching Nick at Night or some shit like that. It's probably 3 or 4 in the morning. And I hear this super loud boom. Okay, it was like boom. And it was so loud that I felt a vibration. And honestly, my first reaction is I thought that a car crash happened outside. That's how loud it was. So I immediately like looked through the blinds of the window. No cars, no like trash trucks. I'm thinking, okay, it's a trash truck. Like it was so loud. No trash trucks, no people out there, nothing. And I was like, well, that was weird. Tried to forget about it. Lay back down on the couch, watching Nick at Night. And I start sort of falling asleep. And again, I hear this like super loud bang. Super loud, could feel it vibrate, all that stuff. And I was like, okay, what the fuck was that? Like, did something fall? So I'm looking around. I look in the bathroom up there. Nothing's fall over there. Like, all my siblings are sleeping in their rooms. No one has made a peep. No one fell out of bed or anything like that. I was so freaked out. I'm like, what was this? Okay. I'm like, I guess it's nothing. I lay down on the couch again. Now, this third time, and if you know anything about demons, like the number 3 is a thing, you know? So this is the third time I hear a noise. And on this third time, I hear boom, boom, boom. 3 knocks that were so loud that I could feel it vibrate. So I hear boom, boom, boom. And immediately, like something out of Insidious, my baby brother starts crying. And the knocks felt like they came from that wall that divided the room I was in and the room in his bedroom. And he starts scream crying, like literally something that you would hear out of like Insidious, like out of a horror movie. So I immediately jump up. I'm terrified, but I'm like, I got to get my brother. I run over, I open the door, and I had like turned on all the lights and stuff. So when I open the door, light like floods into his room. Now you would think that a 1-year-old baby that is scream crying in the middle of the night, when you open the door and light comes in, they're going to turn towards you and start crying your way, maybe even say your name. They're going to reach their arms out, all this stuff. Nope. My little brother is staring at the corner that the sound would have come from, that I thought the sound came from, like on the other side of the wall. And he is the most petrified, terrified look in his eyes, scream, crying, like red face, everything, tears. He is freaking out. Something was standing there, I swear, and I could feel it immediately. That corner that he was looking at was pitch black. It like wouldn't absorb light. I don't even know how to describe it. I knew it immediately in the same way that I knew with my sister. I was like, oh my God, something's in here with him. So I'm like, Cooper, trying to get his attention. And he is just staring, scream crying, like not looking at me at all. So I finally like get the courage. I run over, I pick him up, I run out as fast as I can. And I swear to God, I could feel this, like I could feel it on me. It was like heat on me. And so I run out, I close the door. I'm like freaking out. I'm panting. I try and go wake up my dad. He's like, go back to sleep, put Cooper away, go back to sleep. You shouldn't be up. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like this thing that's been happening to me over the last like hour, it's freaking me out. Like I'm freaked out, whatever. And I lay down and, I stayed up for the rest of the night, basically staring at this wall. Didn't hear anything else the rest of the night. I held my brother and he slept in my arms for the rest of the night because I was too scared to put him back in his room. But anyway, that's my 2 stories about the demon that I think lived in my house. And I think both these times it was trying to hurt my younger siblings for some reason. Not really sure why. I always felt like it was around. It always creeped me out. But yeah, that's my ghost stories.
So this story is less of a story and more of a Sarah legend, because it went on for a few years of my life. So it's going to be rambling, so bear with me. So after I turned 18 and graduated high school, I went to this little college in the middle of nowhere, Maine. And it was my first time on my own. I was the oldest of 5, so a lot of my life was taking care of my siblings. So now that I'm in college and by myself, let's do all the crazy, bad, insane things I've always wanted to do but never could. And one of those was to make a Ouija board. This Ouija board was literally just a painting on a canvas I got from Michael's. On the other side, I painted a plague doctor because I thought that was so edgy and cool. And I put pride into this Ouija board. I used a ruler, I used a paint marker, and a little bit of my blood. And hear me out, that sounds crazy, and I knew it was crazy in the moment. So I just did slice, just the smallest little slice, barely broke skin. I just squeezed the blood out, and I just right onto the canvas. I wanted this shit to work, and it did. So it was a friend of mine and a guy we met at college. One night we were like, we're gonna play with this Ouija board, we gonna go crazy. And this guy was telling a story about how 3 years ago in that same exact room, they played with a Ouija board, and it was unfortunate and scary, and everybody, like, their personalities completely changed, and they all left the college that year and never came back except for that guy. 3 years later, in the same room, playing with this Ouija board. And basically how he explained that night happening is kind of similar to how our night went, where it was calling out my friend who was, our scribe, and, saying her name and putting the letters in different orders. And we kind of got spooked out and stopped playing it. And to give you an idea of what a bad vibe is I was taking my little depression nap at 5 p.m. like I always did right before dinner, and I woke up the first time to what felt like somebody in my room. You wake up because you feel like somebody's watching you. I woke up, I didn't open my eyes, I said, couldn't be somebody in here. I live alone in this dorm. The door locks as soon as it closes. There's no way somebody's getting in. But I woke up, I said, somebody's in here? No, nobody's in here. I woke up a second time to what sounded like all my posters on my walls falling down one by one. Mind you, it is concrete walls, so they were taped up, so I was like, nah, maybe the window's open and the wind blew. I don't know, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I'm not waking up for this. The third time I woke up was because I heard someone start from the door, walk all the way into my room, and walk up to my bed and just stand there. And in the moment, I was pissed. I said, who's waking me up? Who's in my room waking me up? I'm walking around making all this noise. And I said, I live alone. Oh my God, I live alone. When I woke up, only one poster fell, which I heard every single one of them fall. And I went to dinner. I said, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm a little early. I don't care. I'm not staying in this room right now. And for the next couple days, that vibe of like somebody's in here with me continued until I told one of my friends, like, hey, I have, some incense. I have an EMF detector. Do you want to try to talk to whatever's in my room? Because obviously something's here. They said yes, so we had to go to a Rite Aid to go get some batteries for the EMF detector, and while I was at Rite Aid, I get a call from my sister saying one of my childhood cats just died. If that's not a sign to talk to ghosts, I don't know what is. So me and my friends made a salt circle, we lit some incense, and we had the EMF detector right in the center, and we started just asking questions. And yes, I know how an EMF detector works. I made sure that it wasn't laying on any wires or pipes. Thank you. And eventually we started talking to this thing that was in my room, asking it yes or no questions. For yes, it would spike the needle of the EMF detector up, and for no, it'd spike it down. And it always went right back to center, its baseline. This thing that we were talking to was lying to us all night. It was saying that it was my great-grandfather. It was saying that it was my cat. It was saying all these things. We were saying, hey, can you tap on the closet door over there? Oh my God, he tapped it. And I know that you're not supposed, I know that I was doing the wrong thing, okay? I was feeling a little goofy. We basically finished off the seance by saying, should Sarah sleep in her room tonight? And the thing said no. We said, will she be harmed? And the thing said yes. So naturally, I slept in their room that night. After that, the next day, we had a campus witch come in and smudge my room and cleanse it. And she did a prayer. She opened up the windows, the doors. She said all these things. But I still felt like something was in my room. So one day I took the EMF detector out and I put it right in the place where we were talking to the guy the first time. But it was like lower. It wasn't as high on the needle scale as it usually was. And when I started asking it questions, it wasn't answering. So in my head, I was like, this something's here, but it's a different thing. And sure enough, when I was like, hey, like, here are the rules, yes or no questions, spike up for yes, spike down for no. Is someone here? Yes. Are you the guy from before? No. Are you a different guy? Yes. Are you kind of like my roommate? Yeah. Okay. Are you here to protect me? Yes. Do you like my ukulele? No. Okay. And I wanted to know this guy's name. If this guy's in my room here to protect me and hanging out with me and kind of like my roommate, I was like, what's your name? So I went through the alphabet and I was like, spike up on the first letter, and it spiked up on L. And then I went through the alphabet again and he didn't spike up. And I said, what's your second letter? I went through it again and he didn't spike up. I said, you want me to call you L? And he's like, yeah. So L kind of became this like hot commodity on my floor in college. People would come in and talk to him. It was this big little like party trick that I had. And I was asking L the most philosophical questions. I was asking him questions about, you know, the afterlife. I was asking him questions about religion. I was asking him questions about space and time and what it's like on the other side. And he couldn't tell me much. And I kind of think he was like a bad guy, but not in a I'm gonna drag you to hell kind of bad guy, more like a didn't I scare you? Anyways, moving forward, one day Elle scratched my knee. I felt some hotness on my knee and I was like, what is this? And I beep, turned my EMF detector on. I said, Elle, did you scratch me? He said, yes. I said, are you trying to get my attention? He said, yes. And I said, is it important? He said, yes. And I was like, okay. He's like, I can't ask what is it, you know, because it's a yes or no question. I said, well, these are the boundaries. I told you you cannot touch me. I told you you can't do this. That is not the way to get my attention. You can knock on my closet door. You can, you know, move something in my room. You do not touch me, okay? And after setting that boundary, Elle did not talk to me. Elle would not speak to me after that. Even when I had some friends come in, we would use the EMF detector. I would ask him a question. He wouldn't move the needle. My friends would ask the same question. He would move the needle. Now, while all that was happening, I knew that I was not going to stay at this college at the end of the year, and I was going to go to a different state. And I had asked Elle previously, like, if he was going to follow me to that state, and he said yes. But when he ghosted me, I didn't know that he was going to follow me, so I just didn't talk to him for a year. Until while I was, you know, in this new state and I was planning on moving to California and I was kind of stressed out about it and I felt like I was kind of alone. One day I was getting ready for work and I just turned my EMF detector on because I had a feeling and I was talking to him, not knowing if he was there. And then I said, I don't know if you're mad at me. I don't know if you're mad at me. He spikes up, yes. I said, you're mad at me because you scratched me. Who's the victim here? Anyways, Elle said that he was with me this whole time, he was protecting me this whole time, and he was going to move to LA with me. First day in my dorms, I have 3 roommates. I tell them, hey, I may or may not have a ghost that has followed me here. And they said, what do you mean? So I take out my EMF detector, I, you know, find the right spot where it's equal. I said, Elle, are you here? Spikes up. What the? Crazy enough, one of my roommates could see ghosts, and her and her friend were scouring the building looking for ghosts, and they saw one that was not good and started to follow them back to the dorm. So when they came into the dorm and hung out and started whispering, not enough to wake me up, I eventually woke up and I was like, what are you guys doing? They were like, why are you awake? Something's out there. And she said that she felt Elle like sweep our room, stop at my bed to make sure that I was there, and go to the door to make sure that thing didn't come in. Elle continued to follow me through dorm rooms for about a year after that, but we just kind of fell out of touch. And that's another reason why I think he was because I was not giving him that power anymore. I wasn't giving him the time of day, and then he kind of just like stopped existing. I will forever think of the philosophical answers that Elle gave me for all the questions I asked him. And who knows, Elle might still be here. I just don't have my EMF detector anymore. Anyways, comment if you want more stories about Elle.
Story that sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely true. I'll go first.
I've been trying to figure out the fastest way to tell this because I've always experienced some really crazy off-the-wall shit. And when we moved into our newest house, everything came full circle. Let me just start this off by saying anywhere and everywhere I have lived, I have always experienced something unexplainable and something paranormal and supernatural. Doesn't matter where. I could live in a fucking cardboard box. I would experience some shit. My son is now 5. This happened when he was 4. Started telling me that he was experiencing a shadow man in our bathroom which is connected to our walk-in closet. He would tell me that at night it would communicate with him by standing in the doorway, and he would describe to me, well, actually, I take that back. He would not talk to me about this thing for a while. He was terrified. He said it got mad when he spoke about it. I would beg him to tell me what it would look like. He told me it was a shadow person with red glowing eyes, and that it would stand in our doorway to the bathroom and would motion to him to come here, as in like that. Y'all, when I tell you I would lose sleep over this, because I would not go to sleep until he had went to sleep. That's how scared he was and how afraid I was for him, because nobody believed him but me. For example, one night I'm laying in bed with him. My back is to the bathroom. He is laying in closest to the wall, and he is looking past me and not saying anything, but I can clearly tell he's afraid. I was scared. I was shitting bricks, but you know, the mom in me can't show that. But I shit you not, I could feel a static enter the room. The only way I can describe it is like back in the day, you know, when they would wheel the TVs down to the classrooms for movies, like when you couldn't go out to recess and shit. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like those old TVs, the static. I physically watched his eyes go from the bathroom to out my bedroom door, and then he looked at me and said, "It's gone, mommy, it's fine now." This went on for months, probably a good like 6 months to a year. Well, in the middle of that, I staged the house. I tried to exile whatever it was in my house, worked for a very short period of time, and then he started experiencing things again. I had finally had enough when he told me it was interacting with him, motioning him to come into the bathroom. And my son literally would not even get up to use the restroom at night. That's how afraid he was. He would wake me up and make me go with him. But when he told me it was interacting with him, that's when I was just like, oh, hell no. Oh, let me just tell this too. He also was telling me about dreams he would have. He would have dreams where we would be sitting in our living room on our couch, and our sectional is back. Its back is facing our kitchen and over our bar top. He said that we would be sitting there. He said, "Mommy, you were on your phone, and I was looking over the bar top, and it would pop up and pop down and pop up and pop down like it was trying to scare me." And he would describe it exactly as it was, as he had always told me it was, a black shadow figure with red eyes. So what do? I called the Catholic Church, and I had a priest come to my house, and I had it bless my house, because that's how afraid I was at that point. It had never harmed him or, you know, did anything to him that I know of, but I was very afraid that it was eventually going to get to that point. I had the Catholic Church send a priest out. He came and blessed my home. He left holy water with me, and now I bless my house every single month myself. I put holy water all throughout my house every single month. I no longer do anything with my crystals. I no longer dabble in any of that shit. I've experienced too much, and I know that shit is real, and I know that the devil is real, and I know that he is out to get us, and the only thing that can save us is God, because in the midst of everything that was going on, the only relief I ever felt was when I would pray.
Well, that is a wrap for part 4 of Audacity's famous viral stitches. The stitch that shook TikTok and is still shaking in those TikTok streets. I'm not gonna lie, the story about the homemade Ouija board definitely took me out for this compilation. I don't know what Shorty was thinking, but she shouldn't have been playing around. It's one thing to sit up there and play with a Ouija board, and it's another thing to make one with your own, and I'm gonna be very careful with what I say because I don't want to get demonetized here. You have to be very careful with making certain magical items with your own sacred secretions. Be it the red stuff or the white stuff, you can't play when it comes to spiritual items. And the fact that you're infusing your physical energy into it, she was asking for problems. Beyond me, wouldn't be doing it. And people who do things like this are the same people who immediately start blowing up my business line or come flocking over to my Etsy begging for help. Y'all gotta stop playing with stuff. Some of y'all need to be paying attention to my videos a little bit more and paying attention to the education that I give, not just the stories. Y'all gotta stop playing with stuff. Some of y'all need to be paying attention to my videos a little bit more and paying attention to the education that I give, not just the stories. But let me know down in the comments which one of these stories was your favorite and which one creeped you out the most and why. And as promised, I do have enough stories to go ahead and push out my first episode for Mystic Monday, and I'm super excited about that. If you would like to be featured on the next episode for Mystic Monday, make sure that you email in your stories, okay? I've had a handful of people email in, and I might be ready for part 2 for next Monday, but we'll see. I do need a few more juicy stories, so please make sure that you email those in or leave them down in the comments. But make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and join the channel as a member, because again, I am going to be doing lives and posting more members only videos for you guys. But if you're looking for more insights and just trying to kick it with the kid, make sure that you join the channel as a member. So make sure that you don't miss out on the next episode that I'll be posting for all of the TikTok madness, because I have a feeling that this Audacity stitch is not gonna die down anytime soon. So I'll have a plethora of stories for you guys on the next one or the next few. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here so I can go ahead and edit this for you guys and push out another video. So until next time, make sure that you drink your water, mind your business, and stay prayed up and protected. And as always, Luna loves you. I'll be back with another video for you guys if the spirits allow it.